The cello has a very long fingerboard, much longer than viola or violin, not quite as long as the double bass, but it's still very, very difficult to traverse the entire instrument without having unnecessary shifting noises. When I say shifting noises, I'm saying that very deliberately because I think there is an inherent difference in a chosen slide that you've thought about and you have tried to execute with beauty and subtlety than a shift where you are actually just trying to get to a different position and do not intend for that slide to be heard. There are various techniques involved in avoiding shifts. I'm going to start discussing the right hand. And it might seem counterintuitive, but the most effective anti-shift measures are originating in the right hand. If ever there's a shift you want to avoid in terms of sound, there are many techniques in the right hand that will help avoid that sound. The first is probably the most effective, which is the lightening of the bow. So, here, I'm going to take a shift that I used very often in my tutorial on slides and try to eliminate a shift using that same interval, which is... So you see, what I did is I lightened the bow and slowed the bow down. Here I'm just going to try to lighten the bow in the shift. You see that avoided all of the shifting sound. It did create a slight gap in tone, but it really actually limited the sound. If I wanted to reduce the gap, then you hear a little bit of the slide on the early end. Now, that is lifting the bow out of the string. We can also slow the bow down. It can result in sometimes a stoppage of the bow, but it is actually very effective in reducing the sound. That one I thought was effective. Slowing the bow down. This is speeding the bow up with the lightening. Lightening the bow and stopping the bow or slowing the bow down are both effective ways to reduce slide noises. An actual stop is the perfect way to reduce the slide, but it creates the most gap. So we have stop, we have lighten, and we have slow, and that all causes the slide to be less. Now, another way in the bow to reduce the presence of a slide is to change a bow when you plan to shift. Or the opposite. The reason this works is that usually we should be trained to slow down the bow at bow changes to reduce the amount of accent that we produce when we go to a different bow. As such, when we slow down the bow at the bow change, it gives us a split second, if coordinated well, to jump to the next note. And that is very crucial. In the left hand, there are many, many ways to avoid shift sounds. And these all are possible to be incorporated at different times in different pieces, different intervals. So if we keep the same interval, the first means of avoiding a slide sound is to move your arm quickly. This is a slow motion, and we hear that shift. And here's me going fast. You see that apart from the slapping of the side of the instrument, I really avoided a lot of the sound. Of course, I'm well trained to also use the bow, but I'm trying not to use the bow to show how the left hand can very quickly move. Now, with the fast movement comes a tensing of the arm in the elbow and the bicep. That means that we can be at rest here, and then a quick tensing of the bicep will transport you to the next note, crucial, though, that when you get to the next note without the slide, you immediately let the tension go in the arm. And there you move very, very quickly from note to note.